I need everybody to understand that I am the worst at intros, and I had a good idea for it this morning, and now I have forgotten it. Have you ever just desperately wanted to make something, and then it's a couple years went by, and you just recently remembered, oh yes, I wanted to make that, and now it fits for a class assignment, so I'm gonna make split skirt. Also known as secret pants. Everybody was crazy about them for a couple of years, and they kind of disappeared for a minute. But I've always wanted to make some. I have a class assignment that I basically just get to rant for 10 minutes about whatever I want in history, and I've decided to rant about split skirts. Meaning, I'm gonna make some, and then I'm gonna talk about the fact that I made them for class, and we're gonna use it as a YouTube video. See, also, I am wearing nothing but athletic wear at this point because none of my pants fit me anymore. Anywho, I'm gonna be making the truly Victorian pattern. I've never done just a PDF of a pattern that I've printed out, so here she is in all her glory. It's like 60 pages or something, which, that's a lot of pages. I've never printed out a PDF of a pattern before, so I don't know if that's normal, but it was a lot for me, a lot more than I was expecting, but I am so excited. I'm gonna make this one, the shorter one for biking, just because that's the amount of fabric I have. I bought 5 yards, and I think you need a little over 5 yards to make the full riding skirt, so I'm gonna do the shorter one. Here is my fabric. She's very cute. This is the texture. I just think it's super pretty. So I guess let's start by taping up together that pattern and cutting it out, and then we'll cut it out of this gorgeous gray fabric. I now have the tripod pointed at the ground, so I'm just gonna Little Mermaid this, but we don't actually have any Scotch tape in this household, for we are but poor college students who only buy what we need in the moment. So at one point I needed packing tape. So we're gonna use this. I went ahead and started by laying out all the pages just to see kind of how the pattern laid out. I quickly realized that it's pretty self-explanatory, so I was good to just start taping it together. When I was taping together, one issue that I had was that each page had some margins, so there was a little bit of white space around each of the pattern pages, which meant that when I was trying to tape it together, I wasn't fully sure where they should line up because there was a little bit of white space. I might have been supposed to cut off the white space. I honestly don't know. So I kind of did my best lining things up. At the beginning it worked out okay. It looked pretty good, but as I went further along, things started to get a little bit off from square. There was a couple pages that had to be rotated a little bit just so that the lines would match up. So I definitely got off somewhere, and I definitely think that it led to some of the fit issues that I experienced later in the video. Packing tape makes me angry, so we're not going to use it anymore, but I did find masking tape, so that's cool. I also actually found my good scissors, so now I can start using craft scissors. So that's good. I turned on the overhead light, for the sun is rapidly disappearing as it is winter time, and the sun doesn't exist anymore. Moving forward. I think at this point tonight, I'm just gonna try to get everything cut out. That's the goal of today. So, a couple things to mention while I am doing this voiceover. First off is that I am in fact a little bit sick, so if my voice sounds a little bit rough, a little bit off, that's why, and I am sorry that you get to listen to it. On the other hand, if you hear birds chirping in the background, it's just because it is summertime, and the birds are aggressively pretty where I live, and they will be heard, so enjoy. But yeah, anyways, back to the video. I cut out the pattern pieces, which I always think is just kind of satisfying to watch. I love a good time lapse during sewing videos. I just think it's very fun and satisfying to watch. The pieces are cut out. It's like 5 p.m. I don't know what's happening today. It's just a weird time warp where everything takes way longer than it should. Pieces are cut out. I taped all the edges or the little corners of papers within the pattern to help give a little bit of extra reinforcement. And now we're on to cutting the fabric. This part I'm gonna do on the floor because I can't fit the full pattern piece on the table, and I want to be able to fit it all the way on the fabric and make sure that looks good. And now we've reached the part of the video which is the worst, I think, for the sewer and the best for the audience, just because it's really satisfying to watch people cut pieces of fabric out, but it is so time consuming and so intensive physically for some reason to cut things out. Maybe it's the fact that I'm on the floor. I don't know. I don't really have a table, so this was my only option. You're welcome. I did this for you. But yeah, so I cut the fabric out. One thing that I like to do and that I would recommend for anybody getting into sewing is to lay out all of your pattern pieces on the fabric before you cut anything out, and then pin them down so that they cannot move, so that you know for a fact that everything's going to fit and you don't have to worry about how things are going to go together. You want to solve the whole puzzle before you start doing things that you cannot undo. So I cut this out. One thing that I found a little annoying about the pattern pieces was that the grain line was along the diagonal of the pattern piece, which meant that it took up a lot more fabric than I was anticipating. And the pattern recommended 4 yards, I think, and I used 5 yards, and so I figured it'd be plenty and I'd be fine. But I was cutting it really close at the end, which was a little concerning. But it worked out, everything fit okay, so we move on. So that's where we're gonna stop for tonight. The sun's gone down just a little bit too much for comfort. It doesn't seem that complicated. It really seems like there's front pieces, side pieces, back pieces, a couple plackets, and some waistbands. So it seems fairly simple. I really want to get this done in 2 days because, oh boy, I'm on spring break right now, and which means that I am free to do whatever I want, but I have a finite amount of time to do whatever I want. And I'm trying to do homework to get ahead of school so I don't get overwhelmed for the rest of the semester. Yeah. Anywho, see you tomorrow. Day 2. So last night, I did nothing. Well, I didn't do nothing. I did nothing relating to this project. I cleaned and I did homework instead, which was a good thing. I got it done, but I haven't touched the project at all. So, the next steps... actually reading the instructions and kind of seeing how things lay out. So I'm gonna go do that and we'll see how today goes. Like I said, I'm really hoping to finish. There are an awful amount of buttons that need to be sewed and buttonholes that need to be sewed with this project. So if I can get to that point today, I'd be happy. But also, it's been a minute since I've had to sew a placket, so we'll see how that goes. Yes, I am aware that there was a hole in my sock, and no, I do not care, but thank you for checking in. Ollie heard pattern crinkling, and so he came over to say hello, which is always very adorable. He really likes to play with it, which is adorable, but also very scary because, especially when I'm dealing with more delicate patterns, I'm always really stressed that he's going to puncture holes in it, which is never good. But I started out by ironing all of the back pieces, and the first part of the pattern was to do the pleats, so I kind of pinned where each start of the pleat was supposed to be and where the ends of the pleats were supposed to be on each of the pattern pieces, and then just kind of folded and ironed accordingly, which Worked out really, really good for the first backside, but for the second one, I was supposed to flip the pattern piece over and do it backwards, and I thought I did, but something went wrong, and I ended up doing the pleats backwards somehow, and so I ended up having to redo it later, but it's not that big of a deal. It's just pleats. So, yeah. So here, you can see me doing the pleats incorrectly. Woo! You are so welcome for this lovely introduction of how not to do things. So update. I actually read the pattern a little bit closer as I was going through, and so I did the pleats on the back. Those are cute. They're looking good. And then I looked at the pleats on the front, which is the next step, and it's actually where I'm supposed to start sewing buttonholes. So the buttonholes I marked with some pins. This is the right-hand side. And then on the left-hand side is where the buttons are gonna go. So this is the actual seam, and then it just kind of tucks under and then gets sewed on top, so that way it's kind of going out this far, if that makes sense. And that way we can seal into an actual skirt in the front. Do this by hand, I guess, because I don't know how to actually use my machine to sew buttonholes. So that's okay, but I'm just gonna go kind of sit on the couch and get going on that, because might as well get started. So yeah, let's go do that. So if at all during this clip you see me glancing up to watch my TV show, no, you do not. However, watching it myself and realizing just how much I've glanced up, I'm realizing that it might be more beneficial for me to get things done without getting as distracted if I listen to, like, a podcast or something. So we'll be doing that in the future. Good to know. Little things that you don't know about yourself until you turn on a camera. But yeah, so I was measured using a button, the width of the buttonholes on each side, and kind of put pins on either side, and then used scissors to cut that across so that I could have a buttonhole. And then I went through and stitched all of that together. I learned how to hand sew buttonholes many years ago, and at this point it's just what I do, because, like I mentioned, I don't know how to do it on my machine, and why would I learn something new when I can just keep doing the same thing over and over that takes me 10 times longer, you know? I will say, though, one thing that I need to invest in is an actual, like, buttonhole clippers, because trying to use actual full-size sewing scissors is a hassle and a half to try to cut a hole that small. Hi guys, so it's day 3? Yes, day 3. And I've just kind of realized that this project is going to take me a lot longer than I was expecting, which is okay. I was really wanting to get it done in 2 days, and that didn't happen, and I'm going to take the time that I need to get it done, and I'm going to do it well, and because I want to make something that I actually like and that I'm actually proud of. On the other hand, my assignment's due on Thursday. And today is Saturday. So I have some time, but not a lot of time. So today I can only spend a couple hours working on it because I've got a lot of other things I need to get done. I'm hoping to get the plackets sewn on and figure out a plan for inserting pockets because I'm not making pants without making pockets. And trying to maybe get the side seams together because right now it's just a lot of buttons and buttonholes. There's not a whole lot of like actually stitching the pants together and feeling like I don't feel like I'm actually doing anything. Yeah. Let me like go way far out. So this is what I did. So this is the front and the buttons, which I've literally never sewn buttons that laid so flat and nice. So I'm really glad that I spent the time to actually do it right. So there's 10 buttons, and now that it's opened up, you can kind of see inside is the actual pant seam that just is folded over with buttons on it. So hopefully that makes sense. We've got the crotch seam in back. That'll get stitched together to make it actual pants. I really love the buttons that I chose. I just think that they're so cute. And I think they stand out really nice against the gray, and I think it'll just look perfect. There are more buttons that need to be sewn. I think there's a total of 10 more on the side seams, and that's how you actually can like open up the pants in order to get in and out. Let's start sewing the plackets. Sewing plackets actually wasn't that difficult. I just sewed around 3 sides and then turned it inside out and ironed it and then attached it to the front piece. So I don't know what I was concerned about. Plackets are still plackets. Hi friends. It's been a couple days. So today is Wednesday, which as you guys know, my assignment is due on Thursday. Hi buddy. Why of course you can come say hello. So my assignment's due tomorrow at 10 a.m. Because that's when I'm presenting it. My excuse is that I am working on a show which opens tomorrow, as well as just regular homework and having all the other crap to do. I haven't really gotten anything done. I did sew on the plackets, just the front placket to the front pieces, and then I just went around and zigzagged all of my edges off camera. That's what I did since I've last seen you. I'm in my comfy hoodie and PJs because we're in for a long night and I've accepted that fate. Absolute worst case scenario. If I do not finish, I can present the pieces of construction and bring that in and say, hey guys, here's how the pieces fit together. So like it's not the end of the world, but it's the end of the world for the perfectionist in me. So let's get started and let's see how far I can get and if I can actually finish this in one night. So it had been a couple days since I touched this, and I had zigzagged everything and kind of just left it alone, and in that time it had gotten very wrinkly, which I think is in part to the fact that the fabric has some stretch on the bias, and so things just got a little wibbly wobbly towards the edges. So I went ahead and ironed all that out so that everything would be nice and flat so it could all go together very nicely, which, in case you are not aware, the most important part of sewing is in fact ironing, because if you do not iron, nothing actually fits properly. So woohoo! It's not the most fun part, but it is very satisfying to look at, and it helps a lot, so. I then got to actually sewing together the main side pieces, which was so exciting. I went ahead and put pockets in, which you can see that I'm doing here. Pockets are pretty simple to put in, but if you want me to tell you guys how to do that at a later point, comment down below and let me know. It's been about 2 hours. Essentially, I've gotten the front, side, and back seams sewn together for the 2 separate pieces. They've yet to actually join into one pair of pants. One thing that I'm noticing as I'm going through this pattern is that they kind of have me do things in weird orders. For example, I attached the front piece to the side piece, and then they had me sew the dart in the side seam, which it was fine. It wasn't like too cumbersome, but I'd much rather sew the dart and then attach it, because then I have more freedom to move the one little piece around versus a larger piece. Yeah. Get yourself a cat who loves you and actually wants to spend time with you. Because he's just been sleeping. And now that I'm talking, he's up and looking for attention. Anywho, I need to keep working. Make it into an actual pair of pants. Okay, so update. It's now one pair of pants. Ollie. It's now one pair of pants. However, it is looking a little bit massive for me. I did it to my hip measurement, which is what the pattern recommended. However, my hips are a lot bigger than my waist. I have... They're much different in size. So I knew I was going to have to take it in a little bit, but they're looking a little bit big. So let's try it on. I think the plackets are landing where they should. I think that looks kind of cute. Look at this back though. I can bring in the side seams about 1 inch on both sides, which will get me 2 inches out of this, and then I guess I'll just try pleating the rest of it and seeing how that goes. So let me try that and I'll get back to you. I have lost track of how many inches I have taken in. I think it's somewhere between 8 and 10, somewhere in there, but it finally fits okay. I'm proud of what I've gotten done, and I think this is a good point to stop for the night. I'm tired. I need to go to bed so that I can actually be awake enough to present. But I'm excited to show you what I've got done tomorrow. Hi friends, today's Friday. So yesterday was my presentation. It went really well, actually. If you guys want to do a little bit of a video essay where you kind of see what my presentation was, because it's actually very interesting. There's a lot of history behind where the split skirt came from, and it's a whole piece of the women's liberation movement, and it was so cool to learn about. If you're interested in me doing an additional video on that and kind of just doing a bit of a video essay, comment down below and let me know. Since then, I worked a little bit off camera. We're finally getting there. I finished sewing on the rest of the buttons. So here's the side panel, and then here's the last side panel. So this is finally done. And then it's time for the reveal. It is finally done. So, I'm gonna be a little honest. We got it done, and then we got hit immediately with finals, and so it took me a minute to actually film this reveal. So that's why I'm talking about spring break throughout this video, because I did make the split skirt over spring break. I just didn't actually get around to filming the reveal until now, which school is over. But it's here, and we're done, and we're doing it, and now that we're into summer, hopefully things are going to steady out a little bit. I have a plan for a more regular upload, and as long as things don't get too overwhelming, it should be fine. So I'm excited. I have so many more ideas of creation, and I'm so excited to share them with you. The next couple of videos is going to be a bit of a series of me making my wedding dress, which is going to be really cool. So stay tuned for that. Oh yes, what went well and what didn't go well. Let's talk about that. So what went well is, first off, it's stinking cute, as you can see. I really love the way that it turned out. I love the way that it fits in general. I love that it's so versatile, and it's just like this fun, cool thing that I can have in my wardrobe that I can wear. So I really like that. Some things that I would fix in the future is it's a little bit loose still. There's still an inch that I could probably take in to get it like actually seated to my waist. So it's still a little bit loose, so it's like it hangs a little weird. Lengthwise, I just don't love it. I feel like it's a little bit in between too long and too short. I may go back and kind of just hem it a little bit higher. My pockets do go down to my knees because why not? If you get a shot to make your pockets as big as possible, you take that shot. Right now, it's like right where it's long enough that I trip on it, but it's short enough that you can see bits and pieces of my ankles. And so it's just, I don't think it's the most flattering of length. So I'll probably shorten it a little bit just so that it gets a little bit more flattering. Besides that, I love it. I think it's super cute. I love that it's a piece of history and that I got to learn something while making it. And I love that I'm actually getting back into sewing again because it's been a minute. And just because with everything that's been going on in my life, I haven't really had a chance to sew. And so I hope that this gives me more momentum to continue to sew. And obviously I'm going to be making my wedding dress. And so I've got all of that going on. But after that, I'm hoping that I can continue to make pieces that I'll actually wear because my wardrobe is lacking. I don't know if you can tell. So that's kind of what I've got planned up for next. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it and want to see more like it, feel free to subscribe. See you in my next video. Bye, lovelies.